All right guys, there's how the Jimmy sits now, the Jimny. I'm still waiting on my lift springs from Japan, but I went ahead and made a 2-inch lift for it. It's got long travel shocks, true 32-inch tires. Those things are way taller than they were supposed to be, but I made it work. Had to do a lot of trimming in the front, but it still turns very well. I didn't lose all that much turning radius because it's such a small, compact vehicle, so that's pretty excellent. Yeah, it looks pretty mean. Short wheelbase, 32s. Good breakover angle, and again, that's just a 2-inch lift. It's going to go up a lot higher once I get my lift springs. You can actually see the axle now, the super sexy axles. I just drove it around. It actually drives pretty decent. Very good clearance because the axles are so compact. All right, guys, these are the cheapest tires money can buy. These are some tractor tires. They're made by 4Runner. They are 7.5 by 16. If you do the math, they should be about a 31 or a 32. They're for 16-inch wheels, which means they are perfect for the stock wheels on the Suzuki Jimny right there, because it says right on it, they're made for a 5.5 rim. And the Jimny has about exactly that. So they're skinny enough for the Jimny. They were extremely cheap. All 4 tires shipped to my door for less than $360. They're probably not a great ATV tire. The tread is kind of fat, so they're not going to dig really well with a light machine. But on a side-by-side or a light truck like that, this is going to be an excellent tire if you can find some cheap 16-inch wheels. So let's see how much they weigh. 37.2 pounds. So there are some lighter options, but I like them for the truck because the tread blocks are kind of fat. So if I need to run on pavement, I can do that without destroying the tire immediately, and they won't dig super bad, but they're gonna pull better than any, mud terrain for sure. You look at the height, with no air in these suckers, they are right at 30, just shy of 31 inches with no air in them. Yeah. They look next to the truck. As you can see, trimming will be required because they're a little taller than I expected. And this thing has the factory 27s on it, which are really like 26s. So yeah, it's gonna take some work. Okay, so I got my tires mounted up and I really wanna drive it, but my lift springs are coming from Japan and probably another week out. So I did a little bit of trimming, as you can see there on the front bumper. And I'm also making my famous $5 PVC lift pucks. So that's Schedule 40 PVC and a coupler. Slide it through, glue it, and then cut off the excess to exactly 2 inches. And that is gonna slip up over here, like so, and that's gonna make my 2-inch lift. Now, to help it center better, I'm putting a piece of boost tube clamp on the inside, kind of as a spacer, and then this actually will still center around the drop down for the bump stop, so that's all good to go there. Pretty simple. I think it's gonna work just fine. Here's how it all looks assembled. Obviously, it's gonna get pushed up in there by the spring. This isn't ideal because my shocks are set up for a 3.5-inch lift. So it's only a 2-inch lift. The spring's barely gonna have any pressure on it. I am thinking about ordering slightly shorter shocks because I really ordered shocks that were too long. If I do order some new shocks, I'll put the part number in this description. I really want to find a shock that's about 3/4 inch shorter than what I have now. There weren't a lot of options in that form factor with this amount of travel though. I was trying to max out the travel, but I think I went a little too much. All right, the rear spacer lift for the Jimny, slightly more complicated because there's not a centering pillar. There's just this thing sitting in the spring perch. So what I came up with is a piece of, piece of 2-inch ABS pipe. Probably Schedule 40 would be better, but this is what I have at the house right now. Cut a boost band to fit down in it. Put that in there and put that on top of there. Doesn't look like it's gonna fit right now, but that's because there is a 1-inch nub on the spring perch that would sit in there. So that actually holds this right here, which means this will center on that nicely. Again, probably wouldn't drive this on the street, except that I'm going to. I'd have to say that as a disclaimer. This is still lifted better than 99% of the squatted trucks out there. So you see it's centering based off of the aluminum piece in there. And yeah, that's gonna work just fine as a 2-inch lift kit until my springs get here. All right, first time driving the Jimny with the tractor tires and my homemade 2-inch lift. I can tell you off the back, these tractor tires are not very smooth. You feel every knobby, but that's kind of what you expect with a tire with knobbies that big. They're also not balanced, but we'll get it up to like 45 miles an hour and see what's what. Into second gear. I hear some slight rubbing in the back. Sounds like it's gonna take off. Yeah, these things need to be balanced. So we're doing 50 kilometers per hour. It sounds like my driver's rear, which is the right rear in this vehicle, has some rubbing going on. I'll have to investigate that. A quick update, that rubbing noise was literally just the rubber nipples smacking the bumper. So I popped them off and now the annoying rubbing tapping noise is gone. Now I flexed that a little bit in the yard using my flex ramps and my floor jack. And I think I am gonna have some rubbing. I'm not gonna do too much more work because I have 3-inch longer springs coming that I may stack with these 2-inch spacers to give it a 5-inch lift, just depending on how it all settles. 5 would really be too much, 4 is what I want. But I can always cut the spacers down, right? So pretty fun to be able to tune stuff like that with free parts. So far, the shocks were 100 bucks. The springs were 120 shipped from Japan. I've got $40 in PVC for the spacers. And the tires were $360 for the set. So very low budget so far. Pretty happy with it. All right, so very funny day. I just pulled my entire Jimny rear axle apart. It's completely open. I was gonna put a lunchbox locker in it, and I get on the bench and I realize it's got a Torsen limited slip diff in it already. Someone upgraded this to the factory Suzuki Torsen differential, which is pretty freaking cool. So yeah, I needed to change the fluid and service stuff. It's a nice chance to check everything. This explains why when we were in that mud hole, it was pulling both back wheels. It also explains why when I was doing the ramp testing today, it could climb up on the ramp farther than I thought it would be able to, because it actually has some positive traction in the rear. Freaking hilarious. So now I gotta find a way to put this diff in the front, but I gotta upgrade the front axles to do that.